I've been thinking about this question. What if contentment isn't minimalism, but actually just the space that comes from being rooted in the real, true me? The one that doesn't need the layers of things piled on top of it to express myself or make an identity of myself. So today I want to talk about how I've learned to want less, not by forcing it, by rediscovering the luxury of a slower, fuller life. Well, hey guys, and welcome to my parents' porch. I've been thinking about something today, and I wanted to turn on my camera and talk to you about how to actually want less. You know, I think we can watch like all the decluttering videos, and I spent a few good years just kind of like binging decluttering content, decluttering and recluttering my house. And even now I find sometimes that there can be this gap between like the slow and simple life I want to live and then like the pangs of reality. And I think if we don't eventually get to a place where we can actually address that, what is it in me that wants to overfill my life to the point of chaos? That the slow and simple living, it can just be like yet another identity that we're trying on. I'm 32 and about to be 33. And I noticed this thing happening to people that are about my age, like late 20s, 30s, 40s. And it's like this kind of like realization that in our teenage years, we try on identities like, you know, outfit changes. It's like one day we're this, the next day we're trying out that. And I think it all comes from a bit of a place of insecurity of like, who am I in this world? But by the time you're my age, there can be this gap between like the real you, the one that's the intrinsic motivation, the internal you, the deep down you, and then the external you, the one that needs to have a certain aesthetic for social media, that has settled into a certain career, that has certain hobbies that make you feel a certain way about where you fit in the world. You know, like I'm married now and I have kids, and even sometimes I think the place I live can feed into what I feel about myself, like how I get my external approval and my happiness. Even I think for me, like as I've had more success in my work, I think I noticed that in some cases, like the more success you have, it can be harder and harder to not get approval from the world, to still continue to seek that internal approval. So anyways, as you know, I think about this for myself, there's this thing that I think is so true about actually being able to access this place within us where we don't need more to be happy. What I was going to say before is that the internal you, the deep down you, I think, you know, the years go by and we can have certain experiences and do certain things and have success in a career and have kids and get married, and we start building this, in some cases, not all, but external identity. And this internal you gets like deeper and deeper and deeper. I think we can easily keep it quiet, you know, because like the space between it, or between the external and the internal, gets farther and farther. But I noticed that at this age that I am right now, there is this thing that happens where this internal you starts bubbling up in ways that you can't deny anymore. It's like the things that used to make you happy, or the things that you used to, the level you have to go to get happiness, just starts to become extreme in a way that like you start to not be able to deny this deep down you anymore. For me, I think it all goes well when things go good. But when I start to have pangs of insecurity, or, you know, loneliness, or when the happiness from all the external things fades, that is when the hard questions come up. The questions like, who am I apart from this job? Apart from maybe my image online? Apart from my success? Apart from who my family thinks that I am? Apart from who the world says that I am? What is my relationship with God? I think these are the questions that invite us into that knowing of our internal self. The one who wasn't created or constructed, the one who was just made. The one who I believe we unearth, the one we grow into. The one that's just quietly, constantly separated from all these identities we try on. There has to be something to put that on top of, right? I know personalities are like a big trending thing right now, but I truly think even personalities fall into this category of identity. They're just a set of like emotions and personality traits and quirks and ways of being that we are comfortable, that we've set as an identity that we've put on top of ourselves. This constant thing, this person, this something much deeper than all the emotional states. I think that the external us is very highly concerned with how other people see us. And the other is like who we are when we're not engaging with other people, when we're not having super fun experiences. After I had my daughter, I realized that I did not spend time outside doing nothing ever. And this was crazy because I was raised in just a very like wholesome, outdoorsy, very nature-focused family. And I spent so much time outside. I don't know if this is true, but I've heard that different people have different ways that they hear from God, almost like a spiritual gift. And I know for sure that the way I hear from God is being out in nature. And I realized after I had my daughter that I wasn't spending any time outside doing nothing. Like anytime I was outside, it was because I was going for a walk, doing a hike, having a workout. And so I set this goal, and that would have been, I was 24 at the time. And I was going to spend 1 hour a day outside. And it was like the most life-changing goal I think that I'd had to date. And that's because I started actually hearing from God again. I started diving back into who am I apart from all of these external characters and identities that I've been piling on top of myself. It was very uncomfortable at times, but that's when I started to feel it. I've heard Joe Dispenza say that something is who we really are. That feeling when we're doing nothing that comes up, that's the who we really are. And yeah, I think now by age 32, almost 33, I think probably especially by age 40 or 50, like I've had enough life experience to kind of have a good idea of how just about everything, at least in my mind, I can project how just about everything will make me feel before I even try it. It's definitely tempting for me to like get this approval of who I am external based on the way I dress and the way I decorate my home. I would say those are like my two big temptations. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with buying things for your home and wearing nice clothing. The thing is, it's only something, this is what I love about minimalism, it's like, it's so deeply a personal journey. You could never say to someone like, you have too much stuff. It's so subjective as to what enough is, right? The thing that gets weird for me about specifically my clothing in my home, and it still does, I would say this is still an area that I find like constantly just an opportunity for me to like grow and get more refinement. Those experiences, when it's external focused, have to constantly happen. There has to be this constant newness to reinforce that identity, like to continue to have those feelings, because you're constructing something that isn't real. Other examples would be like, I drive this car and it makes me feel this type of way. Or even like, I think certain emotional states can be very addicting, even ones for me that like aren't so fun. Things like stress and frustration and anger, they can like be kind of addictive because they're intense. And it becomes this emotional loop of feedback where you constantly need more. And I don't know if this is resonating for you, but like this is so, I mean, it feels uncomfortable to talk about, but it's so true for me. Like this, beneath all the decluttering and all the other stuff, this is the root of what was going on for me with acquiring too much clutter. It was that I constantly needed more. It wasn't about wanting less. It was that I needed more to keep feeling happy. The crazy thing that happened was when I finally started decluttering, and every now and then I would have this moment where I'd think, I have this impulse to go buy this thing or invite this new exciting novelty experience into my life because I know how that feels. I love how that feels. It's very exciting. When I stopped acting on that impulsive need, there was this very quiet invitation just beyond the, eating maybe like one more cookie. It pushes down that other self so that you can't feel it. When I finally just started sitting outside for 1 hour a day, like I cleared my schedule enough, I decluttered my house enough to where I had time for that, even with a little baby. I thought it was crazy that I had finally cleared my life enough to do nothing for 1 hour a day outside. I don't like feeling these big questions come up. But truly, like as I sit here at my parents' house, look at my mom's mug. I think what you guys probably know of me is that I love those big questions. And though that has been such a shift for me, that's so true. I actually love sitting with, I love talking to other people about those big questions. I think that's probably like the thing that I love most on YouTube is, and my courses, it's like this incredible invitation to actually be with like-minded people to face those big questions head on. Those kind of people are so inspiring. I remember complaining for so long about like not finding very like-minded friends. And what I realized is like I just wasn't asking the questions that I wanted to ask, like the good questions, talking about this stuff, making time to just sit on the porch and have quiet wonder, together, not be in such a rush. So I come from 4 generations of farmers in Pennsylvania. And it was just a couple years ago that my mom's side of the family, they sold the family farm. And I was talking to her about that and like how it's crazy. I live here in Southern California and I feel like it was middle school, probably, I started getting really heavily involved with competitive swimming. And so all my days of quiet wonder and the very like just wholesome, outdoorsy, like even though we lived in California, very Midwestern roots type of lifestyle that I think I really credit my parents for raising us that way and homeschooling us. In middle school, I started getting so busy with my sport that I no longer had time for quiet wonder, for play, I think I just, at that point, started growing up so fast and becoming like such a little professional athlete, which is so much our modern culture. We just kind of like worship that, I think, with children. And we're seeing like a loss, I believe, of childhood because of that. We're sacrificing childhood at the altar of, I think, becoming professional athletes. That's a whole different video. But I think, when my mom reflects on my own childhood, she's like, my biggest regret is how much you became a professional athlete so fast and so quickly and so intensely. I started working out, at the pool it started as just like 1 or 2 hours a day. And then like by the end of high school, it was up to like 4, 5, sometimes 6 hours, including like commuting to different, special training facilities and stuff, like 6 and 7 hours a day. It's crazy because it was all so that I could get a college scholarship and compete at like a really high level. But I stopped being outside and just like thinking, playing, doing nothing. And I felt like we were rushing around so much. I think it took me years to kind of reconcile the fact that I got to the point where I got the, Division I scholarship offer, and I knew deep down, this me down here, that I didn't want to do it. I didn't even know. I was confused about how I even got involved in the sport in the first place. I loved my coaches, I loved my friends, but I was like, now that it's just me and now I'm going to go live in some other city by myself and just do this sport, I just had this realization that I don't even like it. And I think it was so scary, but I turned it down. And you guys probably know my story. I didn't even end up completing college. My life had just a very different direction. I guess I'm glad for that experience too, and the freedom my parents always gave me to make my own choices. But yeah, I think that I was just going mindlessly down this path of like, where's the world heading? What's the world telling me to do next? rather than just thinking for myself for just a minute, like slowing down for just enough time to think, do I even like this? Is the outcome even something that I want? And I could say very easily that I could slip into that now, like checking subscriber counts to feel good, or, you know, like view counts, and getting my external approval based on like, you know, who people think Madison Gray is on the internet. Like keeping that part of my life that is like, I love YouTube, I love it so much, but so easily I could make my life a brand. Like I could turn myself into an external identity that I'm just, you know, like very vacantly living in. This is truly why I created my Wholehearted course, and took it from just being a decluttering course to being a course that I'm like, hey, if you have found yourself decluttering and simplifying, and now you're sitting in that space of emptiness and it hurts, and you're like, I don't actually know what to do with this. And you're the type of person that's like, I'm willing to wait. I'm willing to look at this head on rather than run the other way or numb myself in some way. Or honestly, like our culture has so many vices and devices that we could just numb ourselves into oblivion and get swept away by the way of the world, and like have our life just go by on a conveyor belt. What was so incredible for me about the Wholehearted course specifically was like recording it to a live audience of like-minded women who are willing, all of us so different, but at a place where we're now ready to look at those hard questions and face them head on. Truly, I get goosebumps being surrounded by people, by women who are in that place with you. There is something like so deep about that, so like wholesome and rich. And I was saying to someone, maybe on Discord, that like what do I think like expedites success more than anything, ironically? If it's not like all the productivity and it's not like working harder than everyone else, then what is it? And I was like, you know, I think it's being around other like-minded people. I truly think that closes the gap faster than just about any other hack or tool or anything I've ever read from any book. And as I think about my future, I think now, like, how can I live at a truly more natural pace? How can I incorporate more seasonality into my life, more cyclical nature to my work, rather than just running at the pace that the world approves of, doing the things, buying the things, dressing the way that the world approves of? That's probably like my deep question that my real self brings up the most. I mean, you guys know I offer these courses because it is my absolute made for this. I think it's at least for right now, it's what I'm meant to do, is work, make YouTube videos, but also put out an offering that allows you to actually have a transformation. And not that I've like arrived. I hope to continually be growing, continually being refined. I think that's what I love most about the nature of the course now. The more community, the more like-minded women that I can now, I guess, engage with that aren't like subpar to me. They're on my level. I think that invites me to become a better teacher still of this, hey, how do we live a more slow and simple life in the midst of a world that is literally addicted to chaos, spinning out of control? Like, that is what we celebrate. Convicted lately that I want to invite that cyclical, seasonal nature into my courses and not have them just evergreen, be available all the time. I feel like there's power in so many nuanced ways of inviting seasonality into everything I do for my work. Being in my free newsletter, The Slow Lane, would be the place I probably update about that. If we're gonna have like just certain times of the year where they're open and you can join, because I just want it to get more and more authentic, more and more real. And I want to be able to give my best self, my most high quality attention to the women that are going through the course in real time. And I just think, yeah, offering myself in perpetuity, it just goes against the ethos of what I teach. I really hope to be one person in your world that just sparks something in you, like maybe a feeling or a reminder to leave enough space in your life to sit with the real you. It wasn't that long ago that productivity for me was an 18-point to-do list on an hour-by-hour planner, and I was driving myself insane, crying myself to sleep every night, feeling so burned out by motherhood and all my dreams that I thought I'll never have enough time for these. I was just reading in Proverbs yesterday. I don't think this is actually the word for word quote, so forgive me for this, but something to the effect of, don't let the pursuit of money wear you out. A wise person knows when to quit. And I think as a mother and a woman, I love creating. I love entrepreneurship. I love YouTube. But I also really love the quiet, beautiful simplicity of ordinary everyday life. I love sleeping and not thinking about the news. I want to keep growing and getting older and not, I don't want to, like, I want to get softer and kinder and more humble. I really truly I love slow living. And I think those things require knowing when to quit. Saying yes to one thing means saying no to literally everything else. And no one talks about that. Being brave enough to seek validation from something eternal, something deep, it means that you're probably not gonna be cool to the rest of the world. But I do think that hopefully by slowing down and making space, people will look at you and be like, what is different about her? And they get curious. And maybe, just maybe, they start to ask you some of these bigger questions. I think especially when we talk about like buying more and wanting less, we have to remember, at least I do, that that rush, that feeling of something new, the novelty of like this cute new thing in my life, we can also accomplish that without the stress and without the clutter and without the wasted money, just by rearranging our furniture, by deep cleaning, by trying a new recipe, by listening to a new playlist, like just flipping the page, starting a new page in your journal, maybe trying a handcraft with your kids or starting a new book. Even getting a shower and shaving my legs for me really does give me that same feeling of like excitement and novelty. What we forget to talk about so much in our culture is like how quickly that novelty feeling fades. And I think the more often we can just like sit and try to find something good. It's hard at first to romanticize that hour outside of doing nothing, because it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel as good as binging some show on TV while you eat something incredibly delicious, or that feeling of like when the Amazon truck drops new cute decor off at your house. But truly, like, as the rest of the world just drowns deeper in chaos and stress and unhappiness, we have to remember that like 1 in every 2 women is on an antidepressant. You might feel like you're not as cool as the other women online, or you're not keeping up with all the trends, or for me, like I feel like, oh, like all the other women on YouTube, I feel like there's this aesthetic that's so beautiful, and that sometimes I'm like, I don't have that, you know? Like, I have to be, I guess, secure enough to feel like that's not what's special about my content. And sometimes I don't always feel confident, you know? Like, I don't always feel happy. No one does. But those are the moments that I hope that I can remind myself as I get older and hopefully wiser. And yeah, I want to not just get like, I don't want to be a grandpa. Like, I want to stay a woman and stay soft and stay kind and cute and fun. And I guess like when I really sit with those questions, I think, well, then I have to go the other way of the world. As they rush on to chaos, I have to be okay with people thinking that like I don't do enough. I have to be okay with being different. I have to be okay with like not having all the cool new things. And I think the thing that I have to be most okay with is being able to sit through the feeling of wanting that quick hit of the excitement that comes from a new purchase. And instead knowing that what's right on the other side of denying myself that thing, not just for like suffering's sake, but for protecting the slowness and simplicity and space in my life, is that when I slow down and sit with it instead of act on it, that's when I see what's quietly waiting to be seen. You guys, truly, thank you so much for supporting me and this little quiet revolution that I don't know. It's nice that even just a few people resonate, you know? Your comments, your views, your subscribing, like it means so much to me to know that there are people that actually do want less in the world, not more. The nights lately have been so peaceful. The sound of this breeze right now is so nice. Every week, I love hanging out with you guys and spending time. I'll talk to you soon.